Ladies and gentlemen.
4, 3, 2,
Ladies and gentlemen.
1. Welcome.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll call our meeting back to order after our technical difficulty, and we will pick it up. We did call the meeting to order. We did say our Pledge of Allegiance, and we left off in prayer with Alder Lady McDowell leading in prayer. And we'd certainly like in this time to get right back to that prayer again. So, and then we'll proceed on with the rest of our meeting. So welcome back, everyone, and we'll move ahead here.
Lord God, we praise you. We thank you for blessing us to see another day. We ask you, Lord, to come into this council chambers, everyone that's in their homes. We ask you, Lord, to give us strength and direction. Bless our nation as we go through this coronavirus. Bless all those families that have lost loved ones. Lord, we thank you and we praise you right now in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Okay. Roll call.
Alderman Jones. Turn your mute off. Yeah, take the mute off.
Are you doing roll call?
Yes. Alderman Jones.
Present.
Alderwoman Hampton.
Present.
Alderman Barron.
Present.
Alderwoman McDowell.
Present.
Approval of minutes, regular city council meeting minutes, April 1st, 2020.
Mayor Rick Powell, I make a motion that we approve the regular city council meeting April 1st, 2020 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Barron, second by Alder Lady Hampton to approve regular city council meeting minutes for April 1st, 2020. Question?
Yes, I do. On page 1, where it says also present, should we also include Attorney Fountain and Attorney Ross Scaler, since they were at the Zoom meeting?
I typically don't include them. The additional attorneys, I only typically do the our city attorney, corporate counsel. They're recognized that they spoke in the minutes and it's reflected, but even when we're physically in the building and they're physically present, we don't actually list them.
Okay, I know they had comments to make. On page 2, where it says that on the Attorney Fountain, on the last line on page 2, where it's we adopted the ordinance.
Yes.
It says 1 and 2 go on record stating lack of comfort, and the decision should be lack of her, stating lack of her, her lack of comfort.
Okay.
Okay. On page 5. Where it has I said where I stated Goodlow family is in the hospital. I says prayers to the Goodlow family that's in the hospital. The line 3 where it says Mayor, if I received calls about the beauty supply being open, I received calls. Now it wasn't the mayor, but I received calls. It was under my report.
Well, okay, it should have I. Okay.
Yeah, I received the calls, not the mayor.
Uh-huh.
And then at the last one, at the end of the sentence, the last sentence says, "Thank you, Alderman Barron, for your support for Plum Creek." I said, "Thank you, Alderman Barron and Mayor Roger Eggpaw for their support."
Okay.
All right, that's all.
And I have a correction.
Okay.
Page 2, under the waiving of the readings and ordinance, I voted nay. So
You sure
that
did.
should actually be
You're right.
should actually be 3 votes and 1 nay.
Okay.
Okay, any other corrections? Any questions? Roll call?
Alderwoman Hampton,
Yes.
Alderman Barron,
Yes.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Alderwoman McDowell.
Yes.
Authorizations, claims, and accounts, the bill list.
Yes, Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the authorization accounts in the bill list, which reads as follows. Corporate, $112,040.47. Water and sewer, $6,640.48. Motor fuel, $1,183.93. The David Webb Jr. Senior Living Complex, $15,070.85. The roller rink, $2,032. Zero tolerance, $8,567.07, will give us a grand total of $145,534.80.
Second.
Motion by Alder Lady Hampton, second by Alderman Barron. Approval of authorization, claims, and account, the bill list approval. Any questions?
Yes, under special events, I had an item. Will that still be included?
It should be on here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on here. It's under city administration. Under,
Okay.
okay, for
Okay.
19. You see it? Page 2, or page 1.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Roll call?
Alderwoman McDowell,
Yes.
Alderman Barron,
Yes.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Alderwoman Hampton.
Yes.
Okay, under special presentations, there are none this evening. We're gonna go right into the city attorney's report. We have some things there that we'll be covering this evening. City attorney?
All right, Mr. Mayor, members of the public, members of the city council, with the city, respect to the city attorney's report, it appears under 8A through J. 8A through J on your agenda. First, under 8A, a proposed resolution approving renewal of reproclamation and declaration of local emergency within the city of Markham in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
And this is just the bi-weekly, what we're doing until we get through this council. That's all this is that we have to just do this every 2 weeks, and it's just formality, so we can probably push through it, I would think. So
So would it still be the same resolution number, 591?
No, it'd be a new resolution number because each time that we're doing it, in order to keep the record straight, respect our resolution numbers, we want to update it and keep it in, as the agenda indicates, our next number is 591. So each one
Okay.
independent number,
Okay.
a
All
period
right,
of time.
Mayor.
No, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I follow you. All right, Mayor, I make a motion that we waive the reading to resolution number 20R like in Robert 591. Approval, renewal of the proclamation and declaration of the local emergency within the city of Markham in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 20-R-591, the resolution approving renewal of the reproclamation and declaration of the local emergency within the city of Markham and Markham in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you see I kind of blew it the first time there with the motion and the second, so I'll get it right this time. A motion by Alder Lady Hampton, second by Alderman Barron, for the approval of renewal of proclamation, resolution for renewal, reproclamation, declaration, local emergency within the city of Markham. City of Markham in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Question? Roll call.
Alderwoman McDowell,
Yes.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Alderwoman Hampton,
Yes.
Alderman Barron.
Yes.
And just for the record, this is extended until the next meeting. And at which time, if it's decided that the pandemic is either over or needs continuation, then you can vote accordingly. But this will be presented once more at the next meeting, first Wednesday in May. Next, we have under 8B, a proposed resolution authorizing modifications to City of Markham City Council meetings occurring during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mayor, I make a motion that we waive the reading to resolution number 20-R-592. This will be 592, correct?
That's correct.
All right, a resolution authorizing modification to the City of Markham City Council meeting occurring during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
Motion by Alderlady Hampton, second by Alderman Barron, to waive reading a resolution authorizing modification of City of Markham City Council meetings occurring during the COVID-19 pandemic. All in favor?
Aye. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 20-R, like in Robert 592, a resolution authorizing modification to the City of Markham City Council meeting occurring during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
Motion by Alderlady Hampton, second by Alderman Barron, to adopt resolution authorizing modification of City of Markham City Council meetings occurring during the COVID-19 pandemic. Question? Roll call.
Alderwoman Hampton,
Yes.
Alderwoman McDowell,
Yes.
Alderman Barron,
Yes.
Alderman Jones.
Yes.
And those particular modifications that we're talking about are listed in section B of the resolution. And they number 1 through 7. Next, we have a proposed ordinance under 8C establishing a procedure for the reporting and independent review of allegations of sexual harassment against an elected official by an elected official.
I have discussion.
Mayor, I'm sorry, Mayor, I think we had this conversation earlier today in reference to exactly what this ordinance is pertaining to. Can you please give everyone else an update?
Yeah, this is just something that was pushed pretty much from the legislature. You know, some of us know some of the things that have happened in Springfield, and I think that throughout the state, we're just trying to ramp up what we do in regards to this topic. And it's no different at local government that we would want to do the same. So that this came via state legislature and also our attorney's recommendation to get this on file and make sure that us as elected officials stay vigilant about this subject. So that's really what this is about, and making sure that we're going to adhere to the same type of standards that any agency would, or any government. So we want to have the same things on file that we're going to follow suit to assure that us or no one working with us would be subject to this.
But Mayor, I remember us having something like this already on file. I remember Owen's group going in detail, stepping out and saying in detail how we should have these regulations. I mean, it's just, and it covered the entire city of Markham, you know, the aldermen included.
Correct. This is new data. There's been some updates to it. That's the only reason why we're adding it. We're not going to undo anything. I don't believe if we're repealing anything in this ordinance.
Well,
Well,
I mean, go ahead.
No. Alderman, you're adopting Public Act 101-0221 that's been codified with respect to our code as 5 ILCS 430. And from time to time, these matters are amended. And in this particular instance, this is just the adoption of that particular public act as part of our ordinances. So it's not, as it was mentioned, this is not taking anything away from what we did with the Owens Group. In fact, I'm sure that that preceded any of the discussion and enactments that are included in this particular ordinance. So if anything, this just supplements it and really expressly states exactly who can do what under what circumstances. It's listed under section 2, A, B, C, and D, the various parts of this in terms of what an individual can or should do in the event that they believe that there's been some sexual harassment activities that have taken place against them, or they may be knowledgeable about. So again, you're right. This does not take away from anything concerning what we might have enacted earlier. But again, this just adopts exactly what has happened with respect to state government, and in particular under this Public Act 11-0221.
Attorney, is it safe to say, I'm sorry, Attorney, it's safe to say in that section 2, basically what they're stating is protocol. And in this case, it would be just be following protocol.
That is correct. It talks about the procedure for specifically. It just says that's it. Establishes a procedure for reporting an incident of sexual harassment against an elected official by an elected official, and for independent review of allegations. And that's specifically what's listed there in section 2.
Yes.
My only problem is that I think it might conflict with what we have on the books already, especially section C, where it reads on page 3, section C, where it says, when a complaint of sexual harassment is made against elected official, the mayor should appoint a qualified law firm for the experienced workplace investigation to conduct an independent review of allegations. Right now, what we should have in place, or we have in place, that information should go to the chief of police. You know, it should go to our chief of police and then go to our inspector general. You know, that's the setup, because we're all under the law. So if something is going on between an alderman, I'm covered as an alderman under the auspice of the city of Markham. You know, so is all the aldermen. So I mean, it should be more like the chief of police than the inspector general.
Alderman, one of the things that I don't totally disagree, but I have some, and that's just that I don't really think that we want to investigate ourselves. I don't know if we necessarily want to send it to an attorney either, but I mean, we could table this, and you know, I know Ross had some further data on this. We had some discussion, but I'm not one for us investigating ourselves. So I wouldn't necessarily want the police department to investigate internally. You know?
Well, it's a sexual harassment. If someone on a board or someone, they're gonna go to the police. It's a sexual harassment.
If it turns
in general, the attorney doesn't launch an investigation. That's what the AG is for.
It may not be a criminal offense, so it may not go to the police. So let's just table it, and then we have another discussion about it. We're not going to pass it. It doesn't appear with this many questions. You know, and we can talk. I mean, unless the board wants to continue to talk about it tonight while we're all together. If there's more questions, then let's bring them up. But
well, truthfully, I don't think a subordinate should be investigating an elected official that we technically appoint. So that's not the answer.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Baron?
I said, I don't believe that a subordinate, and what I mean is the chief of police or deputy chief or chief of detectives, anybody that works for us, truthfully, all the city employees work for us. So I don't believe that they should be subject to investigating. If one of us makes a complaint about another older person, I don't believe that one of our employees should be doing the investigation.
Well, no,
it makes sense that it would be, you would hire a law firm or an independent, well, we could contact the sheriff's department and ask their inspector general to do the investigation.
We have an inspector general.
We don't. He's gone.
He's gone?
No, he's still on board with us. But again, folks, here's the thing: is that if we have something internal, it doesn't make sense to investigate yourself. it's going to take away the validity of the investigation, you know, and in all respect, if it's an in-house matter where there's some internal harassment, you want to get somebody on the outside to deal with it. So whoever you, Alderman Jones or Alderman Barron, want to put in that section, yeah, it can be outside legal firm, or it could be outside HR. Right now we have a contract HR investigator that's working with us now. So it could be any of those arms to look into it. I mean, we just don't want to bias an investigation by, you know, internally doing it. I know we have those tools in place, but that would be for something probably with a little bit I think Alderman Jones, like Alderman Barron mentioned, with some, you know, with a subordinate type step to it. And what I mean by that is, obviously if we used an inspector general or police, if it got to a criminal matter, then that would be someone that's already hired with us that we would want to consider, but not someone at the levels you all are at. You want someone with more authority to deal with you all, I would think.
But at the same time, it happens all the time in local government, state government. You know, our president keeps firing his IG because he don't like what he says. But that's what the IG is for. He's internal investigations, and he reports to county and things of that nature. That's the nature of that position. You know, in Illinois has an inspector general, so he can inspect the governor. You know, the United States IG can inspect the president. You know, my biggest thing is just trying to cut down on legal fees. You know, in our budget, we budget over $400,000 in legal fees. If we add another attorney, it's going to increase our legal fees. Right now, we're at $879,000 in legal fees. So I'm just trying to remove the legal fee option, trying to keep the money more internal than anything.
Well, yeah, I can appreciate saving money, but we don't want to use a weaker link in this matter and still create a legal problem. So I can appreciate that. So maybe we can put in outside human resource. That would be a cheaper option. An outside human resource investigation is cheaper than a legal firm. It doesn't have to be. We can put other language in there. It could be that the last resort is a legal option for investigating it, but maybe it's an HR or it's a private investigation or something. But it's got, or it could be like Alderman said, it could be Cook County investigators of some sort. But we don't just want to do it internal. We can get someone maybe at Cook County to do. We can use their inspector general.
And so, what is the reason of our inspector general? What purpose does he serve?
Internal. But that would be an internal investigation for in-house issues, but not something of this. If we would not want to subject an elected official to somebody, as Alderman Barron mentioned, that you all basically co-sign after I appoint them. You know, it just doesn't make, you know, it just would not make good for an investigation. So under normal circumstances, I could really see, yeah, let's use our guy. He's inside. Let's do that. But in this matter, it just would make more sense to get someone outside. Listen, if this happens, Alderman, I can look around this dais, you know, on Zoom here and say, you're not going to tell this guy to some guy next to me down the hall to investigate me. It's not going to work too well. I mean, I'm just trying to say that respectfully because we're elected officials, and it's a little bit of a different level. So he would handle anything with the other 100 and something employees we have. But I just think that when we're dealing with elected officials, it takes on. We just want to take on a different part of integrity with it. So whatever your pleasure is with it, folks, you know, whatever you want to do, Alderman, you know, we can put new language. We can make an attorney a last resort. We can have another agency or investigating arm added to this, however you like.
Yeah, I'd rather have the attorney be the last resort. I mean, I'm trying to keep our attorney fees down under $1 million at least next fiscal year.
You got no argument from me on that one. I'll tell you that for sure. So what we'll do is let's get it back to Ross to change the language to a couple of different investigative arms to be added in there. Let's say an HR investigator and maybe a Cook County Inspector General, and as a last effort, a outside law agency to do the investigation. How's those three things? How about we pass it with those three options?
Can we just hold it to further review till the new paperwork come out?
Yeah, I mean, those are going to be only three things we're going to add. I mean, we're going to tell him what to put in. Now, we don't want to ask him, he may charge us.
Without a doubt.
So how about if we just put that language in, an HR agency arm, a Cook County Inspector General arm, and as a last effort of investigation, outside legal firm as last resort. Lauren, can you note that to get it to Ross to make those changes? Okay, if you could do that, then we can, if you're fine with it, Alderman, and the rest of the board, we can just pass it with those changes.
I'm fine with it. Anybody else?
So with that, actually, will we still be utilizing that as ordinance number 2259 with the revisions, or should we wait and make the revisions, then give it an ordinance number?
I think we're going to move on it now, so whatever the number is, so.
So we're going to use the current number, which is available, 2259.
Correct.
On this revised ordinance, on this revised ordinance?
It's not a revised ordinance. We're just making a correction to it.
Or amendment to it.
Amendments. Okay, so with the new amendments, we still gonna use 2259?
Correct.
What is the amendments?
Well, what you just said, Alderman, about the various alternatives in terms of individuals or agencies to investigate. Because the way it's written now, it does not include that, I don't think.
No, it doesn't.
No,
So
not in
we'll
section
add
C.
the other two.
So you've got to change paragraph C, I'm sorry, section 2C, approximately the third line, where it says that, starting on the second line, that has experience in workplace investigation. I'm sorry, second line, I'm sorry. The mayor shall appoint, you can change that to conduct an independent review of the allegations. So scratch out the language there and include or incorporate those three individuals and or agencies and in the particular order that you like to be the entities that actually conduct the investigation.
That's all we're adding, is those two other agencies would be an HR investigator and a Cook County Inspector General, and as a last effort, the attorneys that are an attorney outside the attorney agency.
HR, Cook
So is our
County.
Inspector General investigating anything right now?
As far as I know, yes.
So on section C, it should read, when a complaint of sexual harassment is made against an elected official, the mayor should appoint. Is that where we are?
Yes.
Ma'am.
The mayor should appoint, please fill in the blank for me, attorney.
Mayor, I think you indicated HR individual.
Yeah,
Now,
an HR representative.
Would that be City of Markham HR representative?
No, outside.
Outside.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
okay.
And that's what I thought you said. Okay. Then after that, Cook County Inspector General's office.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the last one would be
An outside law firm.
outside attorney, law firm.
Correct.
All right.
All
Okay,
right,
so it's
so we,
add
I'm
two.
sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just saying, so I said 3, you're actually adding 2. Okay, just outside HR and then Cook County Inspector General. Okay.
Do you want the language to include, or, I know you said you wanted the law firm to be last resort. Do you want that language in there that the, I'm sorry.
Outside law firm.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me just, I'm sorry.
So
Okay,
then it would actually be 3.
right.
Outside HR, Inspector General, and then outside law firm
As last resort is all.
as last result. Yes. Mhm. So with that said, we're still going to utilize ordinance number 2259, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward with this.
I don't see us ever using it, but sure.
Alderman Jones?
It's work in progress, but we can go ahead.
Okay.
All right. And then Mayor, then I make a motion that we waive the reading to number 225, ordinance number 2259, an ordinance establishing a procedure for reporting the independent review of allegations of sexual harassment against an elected official by elected official.
With
Second.
revised.
Revised.
Is there a second?
I seconded it.
A motion by Alder Lady Hampton, second by Alderman Barron, for ordinance establishing a procedure for reporting independent review of allegations of sexual harassment against an elected official by an elected official.
I think the motion should be to waive reading.
What?
Oh, so yeah, waive reading. Waive the reading for the ordinance establishing the procedure for the reporting of independent review of allegations of sexual harassment against an elected official by an elected official.
With those revisions, with those revisions.
With
With
revisions.
revisions.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2259, an ordinance established a procedure for the reporting and independent review of allegations of sexual harassment against an elected official by the elected official with revisions.
Second.
Motion by Alder Lady Hampton, second by Alderman Barron, to adopt the ordinance establishing procedure for reporting independent review of allegations of sexual harassment against an elected official by an elected official with revisions. Question? Roll call.
Alderwoman Hampton,
Yes.
Alderwoman McDowell,
Yes.
Alderman Barron,
Yes.
Alderman Jones.
Yes.
Okay, next we have under 8D, a proposed ordinance authorizing the execution of a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Markham and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, AFL-CIO Council 31, and Local 1473. I did prepare the ordinance. You also have attached to that ordinance the agreement, which is dated May 1, 2018, through April 30th, 2022. You have a table of contents, total length, approximately 32 pages of this agreement. The mayor had indicated he'd like to pass this evening. I would just ask if there are any issues or questions at this point. This is the final document. And I'll ask Mr. Mayor, with respect to this, has the union sent anything else over other than this? Any other letter?
Let me just say to the council that, as I mentioned a few weeks ago of that, and prior even to that, that the negotiations have probably been going on 6 to 8 months. I can only tell you that it probably could have been done probably in a couple of days had there not been um, a real unnecessary breakdown in communication with the union, not our guys, with their business rep. It usually kind of goes that way, unfortunately, sometimes. I think by the time we got back in the room, I think that the business agent realized that we could have done this much quicker. Just to let you know what the issues were with the ASME contract is that obviously, you know, we had dispatchers at one point, they're gone. We have records clerks. They do a different assignment. We have water clerks. We have a business license clerk. We have uh, public workers that work in what they call an A and a B man capacity. So what you had is disparity in these positions that didn't require the same type of increases. So that's what I really had difficulty trying to make the business agent understand is that you can't stroke the brush with this thing in one way. We had to visit each area to make sure that the comparables to these positions were comparable to, you know, everywhere else with the industry or the other agencies, other municipalities that were right in sync and in order. And we did that, but it wasn't without trying to let the union know we're not, you know, because when we corrected these positions, we had like 2 or 3 people that had to get 10 to 12% increases where they were at. They were that far out of line. Then we had some people that only got a 2 or 2.5% increase, and then of course you know how that goes, right? They go back to the barn and they argue with each other. That didn't last long though. I think that the rank and file, they cured their issues because they knew what we were trying to do. It was just their business agent who could not get it. So this by far is probably one of the best contracts that they would have had because everybody's being paid accordingly. The last comment I'll make and entertain any questioning about it, because most of the language throughout the contract was not even an issue. There was a couple of issues, but it's not even worth what we went through just trying to get the wages straight. And that was the most important thing because now we won't have to visit this ever again. We just give percentage increases across the board. Everybody gets the same percentage increases, not unlike this situation. The last comment was, I know that I had a conversation with Alderman Barron and then later a conversation with Alderlady Hampton in regard to the A and B man positions. One of the things that I checked with HR today with, I forgot what we did. We put in different steps. I shouldn't say steps. That's improper language. We put in different positions, meaning B-man 1, 2, and 3. We were a little concerned when me and Alderman Barron talked about trying to move up the salaries as they sit at A-man and B-man about $2,000 each. But when I revisited it yet last night and today, we actually have enough disparity in the numbers where the senior water clerk, for example, if you're watching or looking at the scale, is still paid less than a operator 3, B-man 3. That person is still substantially at 45,000 ahead of a senior water clerk at 41,000. So we had concern about that, but the numbers are spread out enough to leave it like it is. I did still, you know, if you still so desire to give more, I'm sure they won't turn it down, but I don't really see the point because we spread it out enough where they're about $4,000 5,000, almost well, let's see, almost 5,000 or so ahead of them, ahead of a records clerk. And that's what we were looking for, Alderman, if you remember our conversation, Alderman Barron.
I did, I do, and I still think it's out of whack. Like I said, you have an employee that's working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, doesn't have to worry about inclement weather or anything like that being called out. And I think there's a huge difference in the job.
Okay.
But I'll, like I said, I that's not something that I'm.
Well, let me recommend this, because the only place that I would probably recommend is at an operator 1, but the operator 1 doesn't have to have a CDL. That's the issue. And to pay that person, I mean, we could do that. I mean, but they're the low man on the totem pole, and they're barely ahead. Well, they're not ahead of the senior water clerk, but that person really is only making that amount of money because of longevity.
Correct.
That's really what the issue is with that particular person.
You have to factor that in.
Right.
So my question is, so do we add more positions in this contract, or is the same? That's what
We didn't add more positions. We left room for more maneuverability in terms of position should we need it or want it, but we have not added.
right. Because my key thing is saving on cost, because don't we have to retro money back to them now once this contract is signed?
Yeah, we've had some discussion about that. After we do that, we'll have to start tallying that up and see what we owe them.
Hundreds of thousands.
What's that?
Yes, I mean, that's my key concern. So, I mean, these numbers look good to me, especially since we want a tight budget. We have to start saving money, Mayor. So I think these numbers look good. I think that the senior water clerk is well deserved of what she's getting.
Oh,
so
yeah.
right now we need to hold a budget, hold, So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think Barron's concern was for B-man operator 1 in reference to making sure that salary is conducive to its position. I think that's what Barron's concern was.
but the senior water clerk has time, so you have to factor that in also.
But
yes,
see,
absolutely.
we're not supposed to be. We don't have any names by these. We're not supposed to consider that the employee. Sure, we can name everybody in this contract, but that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
In no time have we.
No, we're not doing that, folks.
We haven't named no names.
We just know that.
Okay.
It's just kind of.
We just stated the positions.
While we're still on the subject, I'm trying to wrap my head around the records clerk making $28,791.
What page are you on?
21.
I am on page
21.
And then I look at the cashier making 35,000. So I'm wondering what the difference in the job is. I mean, is the records clerk upstairs, is that a part-time position? If it is, then I can understand it.
It is part-time. That particular records clerk is part-time.
Okay, now, why do we still have a 911 dispatcher at $49,939?
We don't, but what's the number
Page
you're looking
21.
at?
Page
21.
21.
Right above the mechanic?
Yeah, that needs to be corrected. That's actually a records clerk. That individual was a dispatcher that came over from dispatch and has been there, with longevity. That's why that salary was as high as it was. That was one of the arguments that we had, when we were giving out these large increases. This individual said, well, where's my large increase? We said, well, nothing's wrong with your salary. So all you're going to get is 2%. And so
Is this person still, this,
yeah, this person was one of the senior.
are they still employed?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
they're still here. They when the 911 dispatch left, this employee had already transferred out, and what they were able to do was able to just lateral over back then, and that's why the salary remained as high as it did. We couldn't get away from it, so we probably should have, but back then they didn't do it. So that's why the salary remained where it was. That's the best I can tell you. I think that that person was kind of on track to make that kind of money in dispatch. Again, we got another longevity issue with that individual. But
Correct.
we were able to hold the line at the 2% or 2.5%, I think, for this individual.
And so we're not adding new positions under this contract. That's my key thing. Then also on the animal control on page 21, that's no longer available too, right? Animal control.
Yeah, it's not funded, but you got to remember this person was under the contract at
Gotcha.
the time in 2018, so that individual had to be tallied into this, and will also receive some retro. We have a couple of people that left.
I see.
That we'll have to send them a check. It won't be a whole lot, but because we you know you almost, we're just giving them the difference of what they didn't take or get, I should say, from the increase. That's all they're going to receive. It's not going to be a large amount. You know how that works. So
Yes.
now what I'll do, counsel, is correct. This 911 dispatcher is a records clerk, so that's what it should say. It should say, and we'll correct that, records clerk. Attorney, if you'll make sure we get that done.
Okay, you speaking of the 911, the one that directly up under the record supervisor, that should say 911 dispatcher clerk?
No, it should just be scratched out 911 dispatcher and put records clerk. But also, where it says 911 records supervisor, scratch out 911 and just leave records supervisor, because that's all that individual is.
So is this individual getting all three salaries?
So
No.
we're not, hey, she's not
No.
going to be here in 2020 or 2021?
Well, it shouldn't have been listed. It should not have been listed in this contract. That was another typo, but that's why they didn't consider it in 2020-21, because it's not a union position.
Right. That was my concern.
Yeah, it's not a union position, and you know, we found that we had a lot of employees that were paying union dues, and they figured if I pay union dues, I'm a union member. Well, it don't work that way. You got to take a test.
Exactly.
So we corrected it, and that's why you see a NA not available in 2020 and 2021. So
okay.
You'll see it during the budget time on another line, but it's an appointed position. So that works over there in police.
And
So-
so adding positions, I wasn't sure. I saw that. I'm like, are we adding more positions? Okay. Yeah, I'm clear now. I'm okay
No,
with it.
we're not adding any positions.
Good.
Okay, we should take that position out of the budget. I mean, out of the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is out of the contract. That's why it's saying not available, but the way that we can take it, the whole line out, really. It doesn't have to be there.
All right.
The whole line should come out. So attorney, just take the whole line out. We'll carry the numbers back into the regular budget anyway. So Attorney Miller, if you can just correct those.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm okay with the statements that have been made. Okay, you want to strike line 3 under position 911 and record supervisor, and the 2 salaries connected with 2018 fiscal year, 2019 fiscal year, correct?
Yes.
On page 21.
Strike the whole line, yeah.
Okay, got it. Now let me ask this: was this a union position at that particular time in 18 and 19?
No,
Okay.
They just, they shouldn't have put it in here, but it wasn't like they weren't trying to get in the union, that's for sure.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then
Well,
good
they
enough.
should be, they
Well,
shouldn't
let
be
me ask,
in the retro.
can I ask this in 2021, we have to do a retro. So wouldn't we still have to put some type of amount in
No,
there for 2020,
not for-
2021?
Not for that individual, because that person got they got an increase during last year, I believe, or the last budget, so that person wouldn't be considered.
Okay, what about the record supervisor?
That's who we're talking about.
Okay, the animal control.
Yeah, that's
No.
already been tallied in. All the retros and that will be tallied off of these numbers. So that-
Right, so
after
there should be a number in for 2021, whatever that retro is, correct?
No, because it discontinues after that. That's why it's not, the position has been discontinued. So we didn't
Okay, okay.
fund it anymore. So we're only going to figure retro for those 2 years, because we canceled it out last year.
Okay,
You know,
follow you.
well, we canceled it going forward, but we had to consider it up to May of 2019 because they would have been covered under the contract.
One more quick question. The records clerk, where is that position located at? I'm sorry, I'm a little discombobulated here.
Police department. Okay,
Okay, got it, okay.
Yeah, any other questions or conversation on that? I think the biggest thing, folks, we really talked about, and that's usually always what it is, just like Alderman Jones said, well, how many people we got over there and how much, you all ask how much we're paying them, and that's kind of where this is at, but that was the bulk of it. But this, to me, is one of the best contracts. Not, I just think it is because we did the right thing by the whole organization. So, and it was not easy because trying to get somebody to understand what you're trying to fix everything. I didn't want to just, because listen, I'll say one last thing. You got to appreciate this much. So I'm having differences with the business agent about this. We had some people that were going to get 10 to 12%, like 3 people. And we got a stalemate. And I said, you're really holding this up. He says, well, I want everybody to get the same thing, the same 10%. I said, I'll tell you what, let's go to arbitration, because everybody's going to wind up with 2.5 across the board, and we'll be going home. Go tell your members that you lost 10%. So it ended. Once you had to make them understand that, hey, listen, give these 3 people their 10 or 12%, and give the other ones their, 3, 4, 2, or whatever, and let's give everybody what they need, because no arbitrator is going to make us give the whole contract 10%. So good luck with that. And so we were able to get some points across like that, folks, and that's really how this went. There was just so much disparity in how people were paid, and that's what we've been struggling to do. Now most of the salaries are coming from comparables. That's what we're trying to do, is get us comparable to anything or in the market. So that's I just wanted to add that, folks. That's all I had. So what's your pleasure, council?
I'm comfortable now.
Mayor Howell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I cut somebody off?
Yeah, Alderman, did you have something else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, he's good. Go ahead, Alderman Barron.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we waive reading of ordinance number 20-0-2260, an ordinance approving the execution of a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Markham, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFO-CIO, Council 31, Local 1473.
Second.
With revisions. That's with revisions.
With the necessary changes.
Yes, with the revisions.
Yeah, okay.
Motion by Alderman Barron, second by Alderman Jones to waive the reading for ordinance authorizing execution of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Markham and American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees, AFSCME, AFL-CIO Council 31 and Local 1473. All in favor?
Aye. Mayor Agpala, I motion for approval of ordinance number 20-0-2260, an ordinance approving the execution of a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Markham and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFO-CIO, CIO, Council 31 and Local 1473.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Barron, second by Alderman Jones to adopt ordinance authorizing the execution of collective bargaining agreement between City of Markham and the, as read for the ASBE union. Question?
And also with revisions.
Oh, with revisions. Question? I just have one comment, folks. This is a good thing you guys are doing and I don't have to tell you, you guys love these guys as much as I do. So I'm really glad that you guys are getting this done tonight. So unless somebody votes no real quick or something, but anyway, just thought I'd throw it in there. Okay, here we go. Roll call.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Alderwoman McDowell,
Oh, you're on mute, Lady McDowell.
No, I said yes.
Okay,
I'm on mute.
okay, there you go.
Alderwoman Hampton,
Yes.
Alderman Barron.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, folks.
All right, next we have under 8E, a proposed ordinance adding chapter 122 entitled Cannabis Business Establishments to Title 11, Business Regulations of the Markham Code of Ordinances.
Mayor, can we discuss this before we move on?
Absolutely. That's why Attorney Duvall is online tonight for any questions about both documents that need to get through tonight. So go right at it, Alderman Jones.
One of my concerns when I was reading this ordinance, location. Once again, I always had an issue. I have no issue with the law, the rulings, but it's just the location where it's going to be. I don't want it in residential areas. I don't want Bubba growing, a shop in his garden by my house. So how does this work out as far as location is concerned?
That was the ordinance that was passed on the last council meeting. Zoning ordinance dealt with setbacks from residential areas and other types of locations where a cannabis business can be located. These two ordinances tonight are kind of, the next step. Basically, they are, Markham requires every business to have a business license in the city. So this adds a chapter to the business license section and a chapter for cannabis businesses. So basically these are regulations for these businesses and the kind of procedure for licensing them and inspecting them and, making sure that they follow the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act.
Okay, so I see on page 7 where it has the page 7 fees, dispensaries 5,000, cultivating centers 5,000, craft growers 3,000. Are those numbers low, or in comparison to other areas?
So other areas, as you know, this is a very new area of businesses in Illinois, and most I've looked into most
Hey, Alderman Barron,
municipalities.
I'm sorry.
can you mute your, while she's talking, you need to mute your, there we go. Well, we don't
So
want-
they, so the numbers there are, I'd say high to medium in terms of the costs for the business licenses. Remember, these are the money that's going to the city. These businesses are also paying money to the state for a business license, or I'm sorry, for a license to operate from the state, as well as various other fees. What I've seen so far, most municipalities charge a fee based on whether it be square footage of the location. They're kind of just folding cannabis businesses into other businesses and charging them fees that way. Although there have been some places like Joliet who's charging $10,000 for a business license, and Canton, which is downstate Illinois, also charging $10,000 for conditional use permit. Just remember, it has to be substantially related to the costs of doing business. So that's kind of where we got those numbers from.
All right, thank you.
Okay, one of the things I'll mention along with you, obviously, I do recall that we were dealing with the zoning part of it from the last ordinance, but we're just getting more regulation in with this. And obviously the taxing will deal with that ordinance as well. But I can tell you, I've had all kinds of people that want to go in all kinds of places, and it just isn't, we're not making it that easy, and it's going to have to go before this board. They're going to have to go through zoning and go to you all to figure out whether we're going to accept them or not. So it's not going to be that easy. We just want to have something in place if we're going to be able to put them in the right place. And I'm against anything residential as well. So I just don't think that's
not allowed in residential areas.
Correct.
I know if the zoning ordinance and even the state act doesn't allow certain businesses in residential areas, and your zoning ordinance not allow cannabis businesses in residential areas as well.
I just wasn't sure. So on page 12, I didn't see that. I saw recreational centers, child care centers, public parks. So well, thanks for the clarity.
And the zoning ordinance?
No.
On this
business
on
regulation.
page 12 of the one we're talking about now, I believe. Is that page 12?
Okay.
It's under B, page 12B.
Okay. So that just echoes the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor, I don't mean to try to get too personal here, whatever, but just trying to still stay concerned about this here particular ordinance or this cannabis business. Just correct me if I'm wrong, because to me, these ordinances that we're actually putting in place from the last ordinance from our last meeting, I think it was the 2 meetings before, whatever, we've been placing ordinances and adoptions into place, resolutions in place. So to me, it sounds as if that there is a great chance that we're going to actually accept or allow a cannabis business to come into our community, because we're actually really putting everything in place for them. I mean, everything is being put in place for them right now. So there's a big possibility that you would like to rule on this here in favor of a cannabis location. Is that fair to say?
What's that?
Well, I mean, this is a growing business. As you know,
Mayor, is that fair to say, Mayor? Mayor, is that fair to say?
Well, I would say what is fair to say is a couple of things that I feel about it is obviously, yes, when you put these kind of things in place, sure, you can accept it, but you can also reject it.
Correct.
One of the things that I found, and one of the things I'm really in favor of about all these ordinances, is that we had a lot of things that we never regulated with alcohol establishments and all the things that they did, and we didn't have anything in place to combat them. This at least gives us some control. You know, we still have the yay or nay. You all as the board can say yes or no. I don't think that, I won't say, as the mayor, one way or the other, where I'm at with it today. I mean, I'll talk with you all about it. We can have a spirited discussion. But I definitely am in favor of putting laws in place to not let them come in and we don't have things in place, because remember, we still have some zoning things that Attorney Michelle knows that we need to do, and Attorney Miller knows from dealing with churches and the issues we've had there, and the certain issues that we dealt with the bars. So this is a safeguard, even at the very least, and you all will have to, as a board, decide what you want. And obviously I'm going to hear all sides of it, but the biggest part I like about it is that we're putting some things in for control. And so people aren't going to come in and do what they've done to us before. But we still hold the cards to say yes or no, Council. I hope that answers a little bit. I wasn't trying to politicize you too much there.
Oh, no, not at all. I know sometimes I can get a little tongue-tied when I have 15 things running through my head, through my thoughts. But yeah, it just seems if, and I understand your perception of this here, making sure that we have ordinances in place, just in case someone might want to come Markham's way, which I'm pretty sure there are individuals who would like to come our way. So I understand what you're saying. We're going to try to make sure we have things in place so we don't get burnt twice or have to go through, I'm on Jones' side here, don't have to pay out no legal fees to try to make sure we can keep things in order. Yes, absolutely.
And the key thing is, like I was saying, is that, this is just setting the infrastructure so that we can have something in place. If a business comes before us, we can always deny it. But at least we have the infrastructure in place. So many times before, we didn't have an infrastructure in place, and then we get sued. And nobody knows anything, and we still have to settle a lawsuit. So at least this place things in place for us, protect us.
Okay, all right.
I don't think, I don't mind saying this much, old lady, and I don't mind being on the record about it. I think I've said this much. I can't say that, I think there's only a couple things left in the industry that can really be offered to Markham anytime soon, and that is growers and transportators or transportation of these items. I'm not in favor of any individual distributorship where you have people around the corner and all that kind of stuff. I just don't care for that. But if it turns into some manufacturing, that could be another conversation. But I can at least say up front what I'm not for sure. And I don't mind, just like I spoke about alcohol or anything else.
Yes.
And I respect the board about which directions you all may want to go. But I'm not for, we got too many good things I think that's happening for us. And I don't think we need people hanging around the corner. With individual distributorship, and I don't think that's what this is gonna. It would regulate this too, I believe, but still, I think that right now it's growers and transportation and that kind of thing more than anything. So, okay.
Yes. Thank you, Alderman Jones, as well, for your input and give me a little bit more clarity on that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other conversation before Attorney Miller carries on, or? Any attorneys want to chime in at all, or no?
We're just talking about the business licenses now, correct?
The business regulation ordinance. We have.
Okay. And also, just so you know that these licenses can be suspended or revoked as well, just like a liquor license. So if a business is, say they do set up shop and they are violating the laws, violating the rules, then their license can be suspended or revoked, just like a liquor license.
Very good. Okay, Council, what's your pleasure to move on with this? Is that right, Attorney Miller? That's where we're heading now?
It is. You can put this up for vote now. Are there any changes that need to be made, Alderman Jones?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with the language now.
Okay, all right. Okay, other than that, then you can proceed, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Council, what's your pleasure? Do we have a motion to move this?
Would this be ordinance number 2260?
2261.
2261. Okay. Mayor, I make a motion that we waive the reading to ordinance number 2261, the ordinance adding chapter 122, cannabis business establishment. Oh, am I on the right one?
Yes.
Okay. Establishment to title 11, business regulations of the Markham Code and Ordinance with revisions.
Second.
Motion by Alderlady Hampton, second by Alderman Jones, to waive the reading of ordinance adding Chapter 122 Cannabis Business Establishment to Title 11 Business Regulation for the City of Markham Code of Ordinances. All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2261, an ordinance adding chapter 122 Cannabis Business Establishment to Title 11 Business Regulations of the Markham Code of Ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Alderlady Hampton, second by Alderman Jones, to adopt ordinance adding Chapter 122 Business Cannabis Business Establishments to Title 11 Business Regulations of Markham Code of Ordinances. Question? Roll call?
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Alderwoman McDowell,
You're muted, Alderlady.
Oh, yes.
Alderman Barron,
No.
Alderwoman Hampton.
Yes.
All right, moving on next, we have under 8F, a proposed ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Markham to comply with the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. If you'll note, is in this particular ordinance, it talks about the certain offenses in our city code need to be updated to comply with the Illinois Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, noted at 410 ILCS 705/1 suite, which allows adult use and possession of cannabis subject to numerous restrictions. Council, I'm gonna let you chime in a little bit. You've got some sections here under 2 that you're looking to have added.
Correct. So, so this ordinance basically amends the current general offenses of the city of Markham. As you know, it used to say that any possession of cannabis was illegal. Now that's not the law in the state of Illinois, so the ordinance needs to be updated. There are a few kind of ancillary issues that come with that. Those being the drug paraphernalia. Your drug paraphernalia was, that section of the state code was amended to no longer include cannabis paraphernalia. There are now 2 separate things. There's cannabis paraphernalia and drug paraphernalia. So some of those definitions had to be amended in the city code. Also, in terms of vehicle impoundment, vehicles can still be impounded if they have, what I added was unlawful cannabis, meaning, you know, if you have too much of it, if you bought it off the street, if you, you know, if the cannabis came from out of state, those types of things are unlawful under the state statute. Your vehicle could still be impounded if you are cited or arrested for one of those offenses. I also added the, in certain definitions, when they're defining cannabis by the state cannabis regulation, I'm sorry, the Cannabis Control Act, I also added the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, because that kind of works in conjunction with the Cannabis Act in regulating amounts and possession and use. The most important part that was changed was section 134.04. I added definitions as they were taken from the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, and also included some new provisions including possession of cannabis, the limits that are allowed under state law, issues with minors, and where cannabis cannot be possessed and where it cannot be used. These all came from the state law. There's also restrictions on cannabis cultivation, what some people call home grow. That's highly regulated. It can only be done by persons who have a medical card. And then there's also regulations when it comes to that. So all violations can be prosecuted in adjudications. Are there any questions?
All right, so the additional information that you added into this ordinance, those were directly from state legislation?
Correct.
The ones that you amended, ones you added in, correct? You stated.
Correct.
Okay, so page 11, with the fines, can that fine be higher or is that already based on state?
So the fines in adjudications can be up to $750 for a home rule municipality. Your code currently says 100 nor more than 700 for each offense. I didn't change that. The only thing I changed was adding that these sections fall under that penalty clause. We can make it 750 so that it's the max that's allowed for a home rule municipality, if you'd like.
Okay, I think that needs to be higher if we can, but that's totally up to the council if everybody else agree.
You can also establish minimums for certain things. I know certain municipalities have established if a minor in possession, their minimum fine is $250. So within the certain sections here, if you want to establish a minimum, that can also be done. There's flexibility there.
So the flexibility is actually there now from 100 to 700, depending on what the individual stoppage is for, would depend on what the amount of the fine would be.
Correct. It's up to the adjudicator.
Right. I don't think it should be 700 across the board. I think there should be some flexibility there.
Okay.
So 100 to 700, depending on what the offense is, I think that's fair. I don't know, but whatever the council's pleasure is. Going to make any necessary changes, or we're going to leave it?
I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Alderman McDowell?
No, I think it should be higher.
So you feel that between 100 to 700, can you give me a scenario on why we should raise it higher than 700? You saying we should go above 700, or are you saying it should be the same fine across the board if they get stopped, regardless of what the circumstances are? Maybe I'm not understanding.
Well, I mean, the max to 750. So you're 700 already. The maximum
Right.
is 750.
So you
Right,
saying
and she
Alderman,
said the
Alderman McDowell, you want to raise it to 750?
correct.
Okay, and then we still have that variance in between 100 to 750, depending on what the offense is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right, folks, that sounds good. Let's move on that then.
750. Okay.
That'll be the only change. So do we have
Yeah.
a motion to move this?
Yeah. Mayor, I make a motion that we waive the reading of ordinance number 2262. I think this be 62, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Ordinance amending the code of ordinance of the city of Markham to comply with the Cannabis Regulations and Tax Act with revisions.
Second.
Motion by Alder Lady Hampton, second by Alderman Jones. To waive reading ordinance amending the code of ordinances for City of Markham to comply with the Cannabis Regulation Tax Act. All in favor?
With
Aye.
revision. Yes, that's
With revision.
Waiver.
Yes, Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2262, an ordinance amendment to the code, ordinance of the city of Markham to comply with the Cannabis Regulations and Tax Act with revision.
Second.
Motion by Alder Lady Hampton, second by Alderman Jones to adopt ordinance amending the code of ordinances for City of Markham to comply with the Cannabis Regulation Tax Act with revisions. Question? Roll call.
Alderwoman Hampton,
Yes.
Alderman Jones,
Yes.
Alderwoman McDowell,
Yes.
Alderman Barron.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that-
Attorney?
Yeah, other than that, Mr. Mayor, that's all that I have.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, City Attorney.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. City Clerk's report.
I have absolutely nothing today.
Okay, moving along here. I wish I could say that. To the mayor's report. Good evening all over again. I'm going to run through a lot of this as quick as I can. I've been trying, I can't tell you in the last couple of weeks I've had all the contact with you all I've wanted, but I did out the gate 2 weeks ago let you know the status of the city in terms of how we were functioning. Most of that has remained status quo, so you all know from the conversations I've had with each of you to let you know not much has changed. Most of the working efforts of public works, the first responders and police and fire have remained the same. The office hours at City Hall are still shadow hours, trying to just answer some things to the public where we can. Hopefully we'll get some more information over time of where we're going to be at in terms of opening things up. I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm not overly concerned with that, other than I'd like to see it one day, but I want to make sure that we're safe. I'm constantly on conference calls with the mayor's caucus of the metropolitan area, which includes most of the north and northwest suburbs and south suburbs as well. And Lori Lightfoot typically leads that bunch for us, I should say, that group. Then we do something locally with the mayors. I still get with the regional mayors here in this area and our caucus this way, in a lot of communication with the South suburban mayors and managers. We have regular sessions with Tony Pretwinkle as well to keep up with county efforts and what they are able to do or not do, I should say, because PPE has been issues everywhere, but it's gotten better in some places. And then as well, I've chimed in on some of the matters with the governor. So that is what we've been doing to at least keep the city informed. You know, if anything that I get from them, then I'll move us as a city from whatever I hear out of those meetings that would apply to us. And pretty much, you know, at the county level, we've been able to get with them to get additional protective equipment for the first responders. And obviously, we've got a policy in each place around the city from each department to where they are making sure that they're carrying out social distance as well as they're using, you know, precautions. Let me just go into, obviously, you know, some businesses, I know the last time we talked, most of our businesses have been able to somewhat remain open in some cases because they've been either a gas station, a mini mart liquor store with food to it. We did have to eventually close the hair place. That turned into something else other than soap and shampoo. It just kept it turned into still doing hair more than anything else. So it wasn't essential. We made the decision to go ahead and close it, had some complaints about it, and rightfully so. We tried to get them to stagger the hours, but it wasn't going to do any good because they were coming from everywhere to come to Markham to shop in that particular matter. So now we do know within the last couple of days, we had the testing site. We did put information out. Then we did some corrected information about the testing site from the National Guard and from Illinois Department of Public Health. Let me just say to the board as well as people that are listening in to us that the decision of what day and what time, and even when the media got a hold of this, came almost simultaneously of how the opening would be and the timing and who would be involved. Locally, we had no decision in that. I did receive a call from the governor, and by the time the governor called me, we had already had the logistics of planning ahead on this. We planned ahead of time that it would potentially come in, but the governor called just the day before and talked with me about the opening of it, and then I was contacted by the state legislature, as well as I was contacted by the senators and the representatives both. So, so I wanted to mention that there was no real foreknowledge that could have been given to the public any better than what they got. And typically the website and the Facebook page is how we're going to get the word out. We're not going to use robocalls and that kind of thing. That's only in times of emergency. This is obviously an urgent matter, but it's not considered an emergency for the city. Not in that regard. This is an ongoing, national emergency, but at this time, it's not something that we would have, and we didn't have the right to do that anyway in regard to the way the National Guard and the Illinois Department of Public Health wanted to manage the way that was done. So we got the word out as soon as we could to our residents, and the best we could do is be closer in line because it's here in town to get to it. And so that was the benefit that we would get from this. So with that being said, at the end of my report, if there's some question about that, we can further discuss it. But all the information I did push out to most of you to let you know that it was here in town, and Again, it's here in Markham and for the Southland, and we're glad that they're trying to service us, and we really needed that. Some of you all have been over there. I think that I did not go over because I think I mentioned to you all I've stayed in. I do have underlying health issues, folks. No secret. I'm watching my health, so I'm staying in as much as I can and keeping my distance. Let me go to two areas. First of all, let me say my hat is off to our police and our fire department, our public works people. They have worked in the street endlessly and tirelessly. You all have seen them, and they're coming to work as they should, and I give them the most regard, the utmost praise for our police and firemen and our public workers. They are continuing to work hard and make Markham good and great as it should be. And I really mean that. We say this as a board all the time, and I'm saying it again now. And I won't leave out any of the other office people that have come in. We've done tons of conference calls and meetings by phone. We are constantly in contact. I'm certainly in contact with the legal department with some of the things that we've got outstanding. One of the things that I know that we are going to have to discuss, obviously, I think there'll be a little bit of delay with the state in terms of budget, but folks, we are going to face some financial issues over this. Everybody is. I'm hoping that ours is not as deep. We did get a letter from the state controller about finances and how things are going to trickle in. So we do have to see how we're going to look in the next 30 days in terms of trying to see how our revenues are. It's in every city that's facing this. We are going to try to get some things moving with our licensing just the same over the month of between now and May to deal with licensing and still get some water collections in as much as possible and see what we can do to move some real estate transactions so we can process that and some fees with permits. These are the things that we're lacking right now. Water was an issue before we started this because, you know, every town has shutoffs. And so we are going to probably see that number get even higher in terms of water that we were going to disconnect. So I want to let you know we're going to have a discussion. I'm certainly going to keep each of the council members, each of you, informed over the next couple of weeks. But some of these other communities are talking about they're going to have to furlough some employees or lay them off. I'm hoping that we don't run into that, but I don't know what we can do. I was on the phone until 9 o'clock last night with the finance director. I have some time that I'm going to have to take with the city treasurer tomorrow. And so we're trying to make sure that how we're looking in all areas to make sure that we can function. But if we're forced to make some decisions to cut back for a couple of months in some areas of the city, then we're going to do that. That's going to happen. So, but I will talk to you all about that. Last thing I will say is that I do want to give the media department some praise. I didn't give them any last Zoom meeting that we had. I think we said everything nice about everybody else, but I don't know, we might take it back if they drop us and make our Zoom go like they did tonight and start us late. But just the same, I think that they're getting the message out on Facebook and you know, and they're getting it out on the websites, and we're doing some good things with media like we wanted to do, and I think it's going well. So with that, if anybody's got any question to me on the board, or you just want to wait till your own report to talk about something, please feel free at this time. Okay, then we'll move to new business. Under new business, Alderman Jones.
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to first go out and send my prayers out to the Goodlow family, the pastor, Mr. Goodlow. He was a good man. You know, it hurt to hear that. Also, Miss Flowers, you know, and Mr. Davis, I heard just passed away yesterday. These are pillars of the community will dearly be missed. Their wisdom, their knowledge, and their love. So my head go out to those people. I mean, so many deaths in such a short period of time is just mind-boggling. So just people be safe. If you have a mask, wear it. You know, distance yourself. You know, and let's work together so we can work this thing through. You know, my heart really goes out to everyone that's has been impacted with a loved one. Also, like you're saying, Mayor, with the budget, I've been looking over the budget with the end of our fiscal year, and we're way over budget in certain line items. We definitely need to address those. How are we going to do it? I mean, last budget we did cut off 500,000, and I'm looking at this budget now, and we're still over. You know, even though the customer is getting them back up in other fees. So we definitely look at this real hard. It's going to be some tough decisions. Starting May 1st is our new budget, so I will be looking into this, and I want to be a group effort. You know, I think everybody should have some input on how this budget works and where we should, you know, add and take away. I think that's very important, crucial. Also, I was talking to Plum Creek, and as of today, he have not received anything at the last meeting. I thought this would be resolved by now, and it's still hung up in litigation. Mayor, if you can help me speed this through, I'd really be appreciative so we can move on this project because it is time sensitive.
I talked to attorney, because I want to go back to a couple of these. I talked to attorney today. Attorney, what was it you were telling me you were setting up with the attorney?
Right, Alderman, let me chime in just to let you know where this stands. I spoke to attorney Shane, who indicated he represents Plum Creek Markham LP. I spoke with him on at least 4 occasions, sent him a detailed letter of what it was that I needed. I also spoke with respect to escrow services with Greater Illinois Title Company on a couple of occasions and started drafting an escrow which would allow for us to deposit the deeds, and this way he would have not necessarily access to them, but at least they would be in the hands of the title company, whereby they could represent to his lenders that he does in fact have the ultimate control of these, or he will have the ultimate control of these once he obtains the financing. Now, I wrote a letter, like I indicated, on April the 3rd from council, spoke to him after that. Again, there are a couple things that I needed to have. I wrote another letter to him today, and he responded back. Unfortunately, it was late in the afternoon, and I couldn't reach him to find out, but he indicated he did, by way of a phone call, have information for me that he would share with me tomorrow about a couple of things that I had asked for. So we're moving ahead. We understand what it is exactly that we have to have. But beyond that, I won't know anything until I speak with his attorney tomorrow morning. So we're moving along, and I think we're all on the same page in terms of how we want this to turn out ultimately. But again, the provision of information that we need in order to protect the full interests of the city, I still need to have that in hand. And he indicated, that being counsel for Plum Creek Markham LP, that he would provide that to me. So I just won't know anything until tomorrow as to the information that he is going to provide me. So I can better answer the question tomorrow, but just a short answer is that it is moving forward, and we've had at least 4 conversations, one of which Mr. Leonidas was involved in. So we have been keeping in touch and talking.
He's under the impression, I spoke to him, and he did share the letter that you sent to him. It was 3 questions that can be very easily answered. He was under the impression that he had to come before this board again. I told him, in no matter, it's a legal matter. Once we resolve it, it should be done. So he was thinking that he was on the meeting on today. And I said, no, you're not on the agenda today for anything. You know, he was counsel to push this forward.
Yeah, you're correct. No, he didn't have to appear. It was just a matter of asking those questions to his attorney. And his attorney apparently has some answers to those questions, which hopefully tomorrow we can go over. But no, he didn't have to do anything. And that was expressed to him while he was on the telephone. We just needed the answers. And if I can get those answers, then I'll have them for tomorrow.
I like the fact, Alderman, one thing that I feel good about, this is getting closer to his hands by the escrow. So that's really good having it by the title company. So he's that much closer to getting this done. So that's good. So tomorrow, let us know, attorney, would you please?
I will. Alderman Jones, anything else on that?
Yeah, he's just ready to move. So I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow also to see if he needs anything. But he's ready.
Okay, then.
Fine.
And I'll speak with the attorney definitely tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll let you know. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman, was that the end of your report?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. You know, I left out the fact, and I will reserve it for another time about Mr. Goodloe. You know, Mr. Goodloe, I've been with him since I was 14 years old, and so when I was a kid. So, you know, therefore, I intend to try to do some things to memorialize him in the proper way. Serve with him on the fire department, all those kind of things. So we'll take some time for that family. And thank you for mentioning them, Alderman Jones. Sometimes I'm so busy trying to get the business done that I don't take care of those type of things. So thanks for being there for you. You know, I'm sure others are going to do the same thing. That's what it takes all of us to do this together.
Yes,
So
sir.
with that,
Quick question. Are we doing anything with potholes? Are we doing anything with potholes, Mayor? I mean, I know and there's a couple of potholes getting bigger and bigger, it seems like, you know. Are we
give
doing
them
anything
to
with
me. Absolutely. We had some places over by the testing site that we had to correct. We cleaned up over there. So yes, let me know where they're at. We can get right out there on them.
Thank you.
Yeah, please give them to me. Text them to me or however you want to give them to me.
Thank you. Will do.
Okay. Alderman Barron.
I'll make my report short. Very impressed with our city departments. They have really stepped up their game. It's impressive what's happened down here with this COVID-19 testing center. Unbelievable. Also, I've really seen a lot of neighbors interacting with each other that normally don't. I've had one lady and her granddaughter, they've been walking through the neighborhoods picking up trash. I'm blown away by some of it. I've tried to help a lot of my senior neighbors that can't get out to the store. So I've just been trying to help them. But I've seen a lot of people trying to help other people, and that's really what a community is all about. And I'll end it with that.
I totally agree. I think that, you know, this being at home, I have to throw in a one-liner, though. Maybe a lot of people are getting along. I've heard about a few that aren't, too. So they're tired of getting home with each other. So we've had to send some people by to talk to them. I'll just put it that way. So to kind of tell them how they should behave while they're at home. So we've had that too. But no, I think that people are getting a little better about it. But some people have not taken it serious. Like Alderman Jones says, we have to work together and encourage people to get off the street and stay home. And we've had the police to remind people how serious this is. And so that's what we're trying to do. With that, Alderman Lady Hampton.
Yes, well, thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't want to be redundant, but I do know this pandemic is on the forefront of everyone's mind at this particular time, and I do believe where there's negative, there's positive. Gives everybody time to think and sometimes balance themselves back out. But I just want to say everybody, you know, just be safe. I'm just like the mayor as well. I have underlying issues, so trying to keep myself safe as well. Nothing more, Mayor. Just everyone be safe.
Thank you, Alderman Lady Hampton. Alderman Lady McDowell.
Good evening, everyone. I just want us to continue to pray for our nation, pray for all the families who have lost loved ones. Many of our churches and our organizations have lost many of members. Sometimes I just hate to pick my phone up in the morning because I'm just constantly getting calls for people that are going home to be with God. So it's really a stressful time for everyone. Please continue to remember the Goodlow family. Mr. Goodlow has been my neighbor for 49 years, and it has hit my home very hard with his death. He's just been like a father to us here. So just remember his wife and his entire family.
Oh, Mayor, one more thing as well. I did have a conversation with Ms. Goodlow, I think that was yesterday. And she told me it was okay for me to express this information, and this it can be shared as well, that they are going to actually have a private burial for Mr. Goodlow. And then once this pandemic break and everything is over with or whatever, that she will, her and the family will actually make an announcement for a memorial. So it's just going to be a small private burial next week. I think you said
Okay.
next week.
Well, thank you very much for that. And again, I will be teaming up with you all. Like I said, I've been with Mr. Goodlow since 1976. They moved here in 1970, and I was jumping his fence at 14 years old, running to the firehouse. Shouldn't have been running down there because Miss Goodlow told him that you're going to kill that young boy. And that's what that's what they used to say. You're going to get that boy killed. But I made it, and you know, he took us all fishing. I think you know, all the Lady Hampton. We talked about it. Alderman Jones said some profound things about Mr. Goodlow, of how he almost eulogized himself in front of Alderman Jones. So we all had our experiences with him. Couldn't have hit us any closer to home, and couldn't have happened to a nicer person, you know, that we all knew. And so we're going to be touched by that because it was a nice person, a good person. Some people, when they pass, you still tell the truth and say they weren't all of what they said they were. But that ain't the case with Mr. Goodlow. So we know that. So our hearts go out to them. And thank you, council members, for the heart you all have for the city of Markham and all the people that live here. So I'm grateful for this board and what you all do, and certainly trying to, and supporting me and what my leadership, and trying to do the right thing. So I'm trying to lead us as best possible. This is a tough time for us all. So, and certainly again, I see Alderman Jones as he's practicing precautions there. Okay, moving on to public session. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we open up for public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Jennifer?
Yes, ma'am. Under public session, I have one question. If it comes up. Oh, there it is. It is from Ms. Virginia Smith. This question is for Mayor Powell, the City Council, and other city officials. The City of Markham is currently hosting a South Suburban testing site for the coronavirus this week. Why did myself, many other seniors, and residents have to find out this information via the television news on Tuesday, 4/14? Did you not think it was important enough to have the information relayed to the Markham citizens before the testing started? Maybe a robocall. When I referred to the City of Markham's Facebook page to get more details on Tuesday, there was some information related to the testing sent out late on Monday night, but that information seemed conflicted with what was really happening at the test site. It stated that Tuesday, the first responders only would be tested. Turns out lines were very long with people from other communities who seemed to have different or more information than what was provided to the Markham's residents. I felt very let down and disappointed that it happened in this manner, and very hopeful that in the future our city officials will inform us in a timely manner. Her second question is for Mayor Powell. I spoke to you last month regarding an issue with pit bull dogs on the block at 16335 Paulina. I was wondering if you had an updated status or resolution, or will have one soon.
Well, let me just answer the first one. I think I kind of mentioned it before that we were kind of at the mercy of, we did our best actually. We had to get stand corrected by the National Guard and the Department of Public Health. We were trying to take what pieces of information we could get and put it out on our own. And we weren't supposed to do that. So we were trying to give the city a heads up as best we could because we knew it was here. But in terms of the information, it turned conflicting because they changed. They told us that the information that we were providing, they didn't want us to provide it anymore. They wanted to change it to something else. So they had the authority in this matter, not us locally. We didn't have the option of being able to call residents ahead of time and give them a heads up. The best option we got is that we don't have to go to Joliet or go to Roseland to get tested. So Markham's heads up on this one is that it's in its backyard, and we can't, and we also could not prioritize for them. Most of the people that were showing up, they were first responders, and first responders don't mean they're in a police car or a fire truck. These were hospital workers and social workers that have patient care and things like that, and they're going to come in a regular car. And so that's kind of how that went. So that's the best I can say. We don't, and we would not do robocalling in this sense for that. And had we done it, we would have gave bad or worse information. It's probably been worse than what we put out in the first place. So we're constantly going to get better. We don't want to let anybody down. So I'm sorry that you felt that way, Ms. Smith, but we will do all we can to make sure that Markham has its best. We did what we could with the legislators to get it here, and we did that. So we were successful, and it wasn't just for us, obviously, it's for a region that of our neighbors that we don't want to be sick either. So we did the right thing, and Markham's at the epicenter of testing in the Southland. And so I'm grateful that we were able to do that, and I hope that we can continue to improve and do better for you and for others. The second question, I talked with the police chief, talked with the housing department, and I've also had some talk with at least one alderman for sure on the dais about dealing with these dogs, and we're going to take some action, and I'm going to get with the legal department, and if we have to get a court order to move these dogs, we're going to do that. So we're going to take care of that. I'll have the police chief reach out as well, but we're not going to allow these dogs to run rampant, and we know who the owners are, and we're going to check them out further. So we're still working on it, but I can't tell you that what we've dealt with in the city hasn't sidetracked us, but we're multitasking, and I'm not going to make excuses. We'll get it done. So I will make sure I call you up, Ms. Smith. I think I saw maybe you were watching a little earlier, so with the meeting here. So we'll get it done. So was there any other public comment?
That was it for what I received.
Okay. With that, anybody else have anything for tonight before we adjourn? Oh boy, we're silent. That's good. Okay. Is anybody going to unmute to adjourn?
I make a
Mayor,
motion
I was
that,
stating that I had make a motion that we close the meeting to the public.
Thank you. Okay.
There we go.
I'm
Thank
sorry, they muted us. I'm sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I'm sorry.
Okay. So no, all in favor?
I need a
Aye.
second. Who second?
I
Who did the second?
I did.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Guys have it. All right.
Now, Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good meeting, everybody. Kudos again to IT, and thanks for keeping us running, guys. Good job from the city of Markham. We thank everybody for tuning in, and God bless you. Be safe, stay safe, and practice social distancing. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen. 4, 3, 2,
Ladies and gentlemen.
1.